Did you hear that noise? Those were the words I heard at 3 o'clock in the morning in a tent in the Smokey Mountains with my wife. What happened is we are big adventurers. We love to backpack. We love to hike. We go through the Adirondacks for years. And we said, let's take this adventure on the road. So we decided road trip. We'll take our backpack and our tent, sleeping bags, all of our camping stuff, and we're going to take a 3-month trip across the country. So this was in March in New York. The weather was horrible, great time to leave this state. We drive down and we stop in Virginia the first night. We spent the night at a Holiday Inn parking lot. It's safe and cheap. We were young, we didn't have much money. $2,000 was our budget for 3 months. I bought a book called Camp the U.S. for $5 or less. And what it did is it showed all these different campsites that you could go to for $5 or less. But we wanted to get on the trail. The place was called Gregory Bald in the Smoky Mountains. And so we drove to the trailhead. When we got to the trailhead, we've got a trademark about us, my wife and I, who was at that time my girlfriend, not my wife, but we had a trademark early. We were always late. And so what happened is we got to the trailhead. We knew that it was a 3-mile hike. We had full backpacks, and we knew that the daylight hours were starting to run out, and it was going to be tight to make it to the spot we wanted to before dark. So we have our backpacks. We go, we lock up the car, and we make our way to the trail registry, the trailhead. We sign our names, and we read a little bit about the region. Since we did a lot of backpacking in the Adirondacks, we were used to the same animals that you might encounter here. Maybe raccoon, a snake, some squirrels, bear. We're used to the bears here. But maybe a fisher or wild boar. I said, those are different. We haven't encountered them. And so what happens is we make our way up the trail, and we go 1 mile, gaining an elevation, 2 miles, fighting the dark. We get to the 3-mile mark, and I say, there's the primitive campsite that we're going to stay. It was perfect because it had a brook right next to it. And we always stayed near a brook for 2 reasons. One is it's great background noise. We're up there by ourselves. We didn't see anybody at all the way up there. So great background noise. And number 2, you have a place to get water and wash up. So since we ran late, we decided we're going to pitch the tent with headlamps on. We pitched the tent. We put the sleeping bags in. I put the rain fly that has a vestibule on the tent. And then we put all of the rest of our stuff in there, and we say, now time for dinner. So we had packed our dinner with us. Always pack bagels because they pack really well. They don't get smushed. And we had a jar of peanut butter. So peanut butter on bagel. Great. It's like we always do. So we eat it. And we wash up, and then I say, you know what, we're not in the Adirondacks. I mean, do we really need to do a bear bag? It's March. What's the worst that can happen? The bagels come in a bag. The peanut butter's in a jar. I mean, so against my better judgment, I'm lazy this night, and I say, okay, I give it to my wife, and she packs it in a stuffed sack, winds it up, puts some of our clothes in there, and we put it in the corner of our tent. It's already dark. So we go to sleep. And then at 3 o'clock in the morning, those words wake me up. Bob, did you hear that? And I didn't hear anything. So I open my eyes, but it's pitch black. My wife is 1 foot in front of me, and I have no idea, but I'm envisioning her with wide eyes. And I'm listening, and I'm just listening because I don't want to say anything. So I'm listening, and we listen for a minute, 2 minutes, and I'm like, thinking to myself, I don't hear anything when I hear whoosh on the outside of our tent. And it's right over on this side, and it's right by the peanut butter and bagels. And I'm like, I heard that. And she goes, and so we totally just froze because we had no idea. I don't know. If you tent, you know a nylon wall in a tent is about this thin. There's really nothing between us. And I'm just like frozen. What do we do? And we wait about a minute, and now on her side of the tent, whoosh, down the side, and I go, we got to do something. So we come up with a plan super quick, and she's like, I'm going to grab the stuff. You go to the front of the tent. I'll unzip the tent door for you. You get out in the vestibule. You open up the vestibule door and launch it as far as you can. And the vision we had is like playing fetch with a dog. Like, hey, here's the peanut butter. Right? Like, that's going to work. But at the time, it seemed like the right thing. And so I'm like, all right, so give me the stuff. And mind you, we're not turning on our flashlights or our headlamp. I'm just like, give me the stuff. So she hands it off. It's like a blind relay, right? And I'm grabbing it. And then what happens is the zipper gets undone. I'm out in the vestibule, and I'm like, here goes. I got one shot. I unzip the vestibule, and I launch it out as far as I can. But I'm blinded by what I see out there. I don't see a bear. It's just pure brightness, and I'm like, what is this? And then I step out of the vestibule, and I peer around the right side of the tent, and I don't see bear tracks or a bear. I peer on the left side of the tent. There's nothing. And I realize, I say to my wife, Trista, I say, hit the top of the tent. And she's like, why? I go, just hit the top of the tent. Where? I go, anywhere. And I see her poke the top of the tent. Poof. And the heavy snow that was on our tent goes, shh. We were at a different geographic location for an adventure. But that night, the close encounter adventure was in our minds. Thank you.